Josh, talk to me about Superman the comic, and start by talking about how great Jamal Campbell is, because book. Are you guys reading Superman? One of the best that's out right now.
Yeah, you gave me like the easiest question here, because it's really easy to talk about how amazing Jamal Campbell is. I've been a big fan of Jamal Campbell's ever since he did Prowler at Marvel, and I've watched him go from that to working on Far Sector to working on Naomi. He's always somebody I've wanted to work with, and last year, over a year ago, when they brought up, me working on Superman #1, and they said Jamal, I was like, yes, it's a dream come true. What I didn't expect was how much Jamal and I were going to click with each other, Like, it's always great when you start working with an artist and you feel like you've known them your entire life, You automatically dive in, and it's just like, and he really loves these characters too, and he's very thoughtful. I mean, there's just moments in the book where he just elevates everything I'm doing in the book. There's a scene in issue 1 where Clark is wearing a hat, and Clark and Lois are on top of the Daily Planet, and they go in to kiss, and Lois takes the hat off of Clark's head, and then Jimmy bursts onto, the roof and like surprises them, and they quickly separate, as if Jimmy doesn't know, right? But they quickly separate, and in the script I didn't put this in there, but Lois actually puts the hat on in the comic book, and that wasn't the script.
That's a great expression. She's like,
yeah,
we're not doing anything.
Yeah, and then she has her like she's like all of a sudden going into stealth mode, right? And for me, when I saw that in that first issue, it was actually one of the first scene that he drew in the issue was the Clark and Lois scene with them on top of the Daily Planet. And seeing those pages come in, I mean, it was just, it was inspiring, It really pushed me to want to do my best on this book. I really wanted to give him everything I could on putting what we were going to be doing with this book together. And, with this book, with launching a new Superman title, it was really important to me, to basically honor everything that had come before, right? Like, try and find a way to put what I love about Superman on the page. A lot of people ask me this question. They ask, what do I love about Superman? Right? I get this question a lot.
It's the question.
It is the question, And I feel like the answer to me at this point is to read the book. Because I feel like that is what I'm doing. I'm putting so much of what I love about Superman, his mythology, the supporting cast, into that book. And taking all these things that I love and honoring the past, honoring all these iconic parts of Superman, but also trying to bring in the new. Like, I want every piece of Superman to sort of level up, like take a next step that we haven't seen them take before. And I do this with, every character in his mythology, right? It's Superman taking over LexCorp, it's Lois becoming editor-in-chief. It's Jimmy Olsen finally getting into a relationship with Silver Banshee. I'm not sure if it's a spoiler for anybody. Which I love. Is one of my favorite things in the book to write is Silver Banshee and Jimmy Olsen together, and they're deeply in love. They're deeply in love. But then also adding new villains and revealing that there's pieces of Metropolis that Superman wasn't aware of, and revealing that maybe there's parts of Lex that he wasn't aware of, but then also having Lex take on a new role of kind of being his oracle, less of a better phrase, but being the oracle of Superman. But I wanted to take all of these characters and just sort of take the next step with them. And there's a lot of things we haven't shown yet. There's things that Mercy's going to be doing. There's things that will be happening with Perry White. We have an annual coming out in August, and there's a lot of really fun stuff in there, even with like Parasite and Livewire. Like, they're all going to be taking these next steps. A major part of the book to me is about second chances. And there's a scene in the first issue where it's that scene I was saying that Jamal drew, right, with Clark and Lois, where they're talking about how, Clark's never given up on anybody, and he'll try to save everyone. But there's one person that he feels like he gave up on, and that's Lex Luthor. So when he has this opportunity to possibly give, like Lex is saying, I want a second chance, and Superman is like, I'm going to try, right? And I think part of this for Clark is, his entire life was a second chance. He could have died on Krypton, but Jor-El saved him, and he was able to be raised by Mom and Pa Kent, and that was all about having a second chance with people who cared about you. And Lex Luthor wants a second chance, and Superman's going to give it to him. He's going to try. regardless of how much he knows, Lex is always up to something. There's always something else under the surface he wants to give Lex that second chance. And so for me, this book really is a lot about that relationship. Like I said before, I obviously love Lex Luthor. It's a relationship. It is that dynamic between Clark and Lex and them trying to move to the next stage. That's really what all those characters are about, is about trying for everyone to move into something a little new in the book. But yeah, and then Jamal just draws it amazingly every single time. Like every page, every bit is, it's inspiring. I don't know how to put it. I mean, and you know, we talk about everything as I'm working on it, and then he just always takes it and levels it up. And it's awesome every time.